a second. So you're telling me this man was smart enough to teach Malcolm X, but you don't think he's smart enough to teach you? Boy, I mean, the man had glaucoma. He couldn't see. He could not see. He still had an assigned reader reading him the books, and his published books were still coming out. Oh my God. Hey, welcome back to class. If you are seeing this video, that means you've been enrolled in Intro to African and African American Studies. This is the spring semester here at TikTok University. Got some good news. Dr. Barlow is back on campus. I don't know what's going on. We're checking with the administration. We'll keep you noted on that. If you're still here with me, remember to comment here or present so I can know that you're here. All right, today's lesson is going to be on Dr. Clarke and the Great and Mighty Walk. All right, before we get into that, what did we learn from last class? Origins of African and African American Studies. We learned what? We learned that San Francisco State students was protesting for 5 months to get Black studies in the university space. Students put their lives on the line for this information. That's what we learned. That is what we learned. We're going to pause any of Dr. Barlow's assignments until further notice, but I'm going to tell y'all, before we start arguing in the comments about what's the right information, I'm going to tell you just like Dr. Clarke would tell you.
I am not here to debate with anyone. I have devoted all of my adult life to this subject. I only debate with my equals. All others I teach.
Dr. John Henrik Clarke was born in Alabama to a family of sharecroppers. He is what we call in the conscious community a master teacher. When it comes to history, right? When it comes to the knowledge, right? The stakeholders and understanding the foundations of it, this is a good place to start. This is a foundation of where you can start to be able to gain information. This is the perfect place to be an intro to African and African American studies.
As well. And I don't mean to speak about such a revered and profound mind as his, the way that most people talk about their favorite athlete or movie. But Dr. John Henrik Clarke is to me what Michael Jordan is to, well, to most Black men. A man of humble origins who took a genuine interest in his people and did it at a time when it was difficult to do. It's one thing for us to learn and spread knowledge that's already been won for us. But in Dr. John Henrik Clarke's case, he had to claw that knowledge out of the cold, dead earth itself.
Just listen to me real quick. Just listen to me real quick. When Dr. John Henrik Clarke went to the library to try to see about his people and learn about Black studies, he was told by the librarian, I am sorry, you come from a people who have no history. When I say going to the library and there is no books, right? We're talking about TikTok University, Intro to African and African American Studies, where all these folks or all these professors on this campus may be teaching about this subject and have 1,000 different references to be able to tell you about, versus a person who went to the library and they told him it didn't even exist. I just want you to let you know the gravity of where we are as far as the work that this brother put in.
People who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. I met him first in 1958. I know him from that period until his death, and sometimes saw him on a daily basis. I was furnished information on history and background information. I never told Malcolm X what to do, and I don't remember anybody else who told him what to do either. They have studied the tactics and the strategy and the methods of all of the African nations who have emerged and won their independence. And they've seen that the Africans didn't get it by sitting in. They didn't get it by waiting in. They didn't get it by singing We Shall Overcome. They got it through nationalism. I first met Malcolm at the World Trade Show building. Looked me up and down and said, I bet you're a swine eater. I'll admit that I had paid some joyful visits to pork chops and other parts of the pig. And I said that, you know, Malcolm, if it wasn't for the pig, you and I wouldn't be here arguing about the pig, because some of us would be gone. We would have starved to death.
Me personally, the reason why I always was attracted to the information that Dr. Clarke would teach is because it was always grounded in reality and it was relevant to what you were going through today. It wasn't this esoteric information that went over your head and was super bourgeoisie in the ivory towers of the university. It was to the people. The conversation that he just gave when he was giving an example of his conversation with Malcolm X, where Malcolm X called him a swine eater, and he said, well, I admit, I done had some pork chops in my life, but at the same time, our people wouldn't have survived without pork chops. So you can have the privilege to not want to eat the pig. That's an intellectual, powerful statement. You know what I mean? Hold on real quick before we go any further. Do y'all know how real Malcolm X was? Listen, man, this man was so real and true to what he believed that he turned down $3.5 million just to stay true to himself.
Persuade Malcolm to turn on Elijah Muhammad and establish a second Islamic group based on what they consider to be Orthodox Islam. They offered him $3.5 million. He turned it down, and we were walking down the street toward his car, and this man had turned down $3.5 million and whacked me on the shoulder and says, "Swine eater, let me buy you a cup of coffee."
I'm gonna leave y'all with one last clip. Before I do, here is the assignment. Go to YouTube. Save this video first. Go to YouTube. Watch a Great and Mighty Walk. It's just an hour. It's been an hour of your day. I'm telling you, this is some real knowledge. Tell me what you took from it and then comment it in this video. Then we're gonna keep this going. We wanna keep this information going. All right? See y'all next class. Peace.
How do you describe a legend? An African-American hero, an historian, an activist who for half a century has charted a singular course dedicated to the intellectual and spiritual liberation of a people. Though his eyes are now darkened by glaucoma, he continues to enlighten the lives of thousands of men and women through the pages of his many books and in university classrooms across the country. How do you describe a legend? You can't, really. But you can meet the men and women who influenced him. You can learn from him the hidden history of the African people. Learn from him a different way of making sense of this complex and often very confusing world. And you can let Dr. John Henrik Clarke tell his own extraordinary story in his own soulful style.